I made the commitment of like, I won't let us fail with this.
That type of transparency, clarity, trust in the relationship is so critical.
Doing whatever it takes, we're going to make this happen.
Wow, man, that must have been an eye opener.
That's interesting, the idea of overselling it. I remember that being a thing when all the businesses that I tried to start before the first franchise. And yeah, it was this roller coaster of, oh, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I just bought this, I bought, I'm working with this program, or I'm doing ebook publishing now, or I'm doing tax lien investing, and so what happened was, over the years I had essentially eroded all of the sense of entrepreneurial credibility with my wife. So when it came time to say, hey, let's take a $300,000 home equity line of credit out on a house, and as we got closer and closer to making the decision, it was like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't want to do this? And it had to get to that point of having that hard conversation of essentially going, well, I don't think you're going to follow through on it, because over the years I've seen you do all these different things and not follow through. So what happens when you don't want to do this anymore? When you change your mind, and now we have this store, and now we have this loan, what happens then? That was the conversation.
Wow, man, that must have been an eye opener and a shot to the gut
It was probably the best thing that ever happened.
for
In the
sure.
moment it was so painful, but I think that the truth hurts, but it can also set you free, right? And that was when I was like, I made the commitment of like, I won't let us fail with this. And the whole concept of, where I think for some personalities, I think they need the pressure of a franchise system, the pressure of I just signed an agreement, I just did this, I just did that, like I can't back out of this easily. And and this is in a little bit of an extreme view that I have on my end, for people that are winners, for people that are going to figure out a way to win, because I think sometimes they just need that environment, and that just so happened to be what I needed. I had put I'd lost a couple thousand here or there starting stuff, but it wasn't enough for me to feel like my butt was on fire, in that if like failure meant death. And once I got in that extreme mindset, it was like, yep, doing whatever it takes, we're going to make this happen. And it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. The first store was profitable very quickly. We then wound up buying a resale all the way across the country. I went in with my ego way too confident and cocky, because I had been on the top franchisee panel after a few months of only opening our store. And then the next store was one of the most difficult things in my life, because I didn't realize it was too big. We're paying too much for the lease. It was a completely different market. We didn't have the brand awareness there. So it was a different uphill battle. We had a different food distributor, so our cogs were different. There were some strategic things that just made it very difficult, where, whew, man, that was a challenge, but came out on the other side of that, figured out a way to just really tough that through, and eventually, selling that location. But, it wasn't easy. And then fast forward to today, I was able to use what I learned in franchising, and then finally do what I always wanted to do, which was to build a personal brand and to help other people, start doing some of the things that had worked for me. So I forget
Mm.
how I just got off on that entire tirade. I think
It was such a great story though, and I think going back to that critical point when your wife said, "I don't think you're going to follow through." That to me is, and you said it was such a pivotal moment, and I look at that and say that type of transparency, clarity, um, trust in the relationship is so critical. I see some, not just in our system, but you see some franchise partners when things aren't going the way they want, and let's say they're on the path to closure. Maybe they're just not going to make it work, and they've hidden process from their spouse. You know, they keep feeding them again, trying to convince themselves that it's going to be fine. Trying to convince their spouse it's going to be fine. It's a big weight to carry. And so it's all fine. It's all fine. Well, when's the money coming? It's coming. I've got a contract around the corner. Don't worry about, things are going to be great. But then when they get to the point where they actually have to say, hey, we're at risk here, and I don't know that it's going to work. It oftentimes is too late for the spouse to get on board with what they need to do to support them at that point in time. And so the very first sort of assessment that you need to do is my spouse on board? Yes. Okay. Are they willing to take the risk? Yes. What is our, going back to some entrepreneurship principles, like what are we willing to lose? What's our limit in terms of what we're willing to lose here? Right? Is the first thing I would say. Then, okay, so we're on board. And then how do I talk to you and keep you updated and keep you informed in a way that gives you a clear picture of what's going on? What happens is that you're saying things and doing things, again, sometimes to convince yourself of something or to encourage yourself. You're not being clear with your spouse that that's actually the role that you want them to play for you. So I'll give you a different example. I have always dreamed to own a Porsche. I'm not a materialistic person. I don't need a lot of things, but I've always, as a kid, as long as I can remember, I've always wanted a Porsche. And so about 4 months ago, I'm not in a position to buy a Porsche. It's not in the cards. Okay. And I got a lot more work to do. Got to continue building the business. But over the last, say, 3 months, I've been shopping for one. And my wife keeps seeing me doing it, and she's like, "What are you doing? Like, do you have any idea?" I was like, "No, hon. I'm not. I have no intentions of buying one right now, and I wouldn't until we've had a discussion as a family, and is this the right time for me? Maybe it will never happen. I don't know." I said, "But what it's doing is that 10 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day that I'm going on and seeing what's available is actually making me believe that it's possible. And if I believe it's possible, I'm getting up every day going, yeah, I'm a big swinger, and I've got a big business, and I have the money." So this notion of manifesting and saying, almost saying to yourself that you have already accomplished the thing that you're looking to do. I believe in that stuff. I think that if you're reprogramming your brain. So when I'm shopping for a Porsche, I'm reprogramming my brain to say, yeah, it's possible. I could do it right now if I wanted to. It's pushing me, and it's giving me more confidence, and it's making me have a little more swagger, and it's giving me all the things that I need to be good at my job. I think what happens in a situation like that, I have to be able to clear with my wife. I'm not actually gonna. Oh, there it is. Something I'm doing here with my hands is causing that. Um, I talked about a portion. Fireworks went off. So I have to be clear with my wife that that's not actually my intention, and I have to explain to some degree why I'm spending time doing that. Like why are you doing that? And I think sometimes in a relationship, in business, that's not happening. They're not having those conversations and saying, here's what I need from you in this environment. So I'm going to talk to you as if everything's perfect and everything's rosy, and I want you to encourage me and cheerlead for me and all the things. I also want to be able to have a weekly conversation with you at a pragmatic level to say, what's going on, how are things performing, and what am I worried about, what am I concerned about, do I need to just vent about some things? But I don't want you to be worried. I just want to have the conversation.
If you enjoyed this short clip from the podcast, you can check out another short clip right here. Or if you want to watch the full episode of this podcast, you can watch that here. And remember, knowledge is not power. It's applied knowledge that's power. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.